Today we continue with our class Kosher Kitchen. We start with Sefer Chofetz Chaim. Today's topic is big topic is the same, to us for the subject's benefit. Big topic, and today's topic Loshon Hora and Non-Observant. Based on a rule that we have just studied, that rules of Loshon Hora vis-a-vis the totally non-observant Jew becomes clear. The rules Loshon Hora vis-a-vis the totally non-observant Jew becomes clear. Okay, so let's see, what are the rules? Number one, the average non-observant Jew today has been deprived of meaningful Jewish education. Whether or not he has been exposed to Orthodox Jewish life, society, has prevented him from taking Torah seriously. Okay, so it is true. So too much entertainment, right? Okay. Rambam compares such a person with Tinok Hanishbam, a kidnapped Jewish child, whose kidnappers reared him with a non-Torah ideals, and whose transgression are committed out of ignorance. Such a person may be in the category of Amecha, your people, and Amesoy, your fellow. Okay, and it is our obligation to educate him with love, care, sensitivity, and strictly forbidden to speak Loshon Hora against him. So let's try to understand. So we're talking about somebody who is not observant. Like if somebody not observant, he knows what, like he was observant, then stop being observant, stuff like that. So of course we can talk about Loshon Hora about him if needed. But now we're talking about a non-observant Jew who does not know much. So I'm not sure how exactly it's going to help. Like in general, forget about like all other things. Like anyway, if we're going to say something negative, how he or she is going to understand what we want from them? You understand? So we have to educate them. Is he Tinok Hanishba? I mean, maybe if he lives, Rabbi Reuven said, the North Pole somewhere. But even in North Pole, there are internet. So to say that somebody never heard of the Judaism and never heard that he's a Jew, is it possible? I don't know. Maybe, unless it was like a very strong propaganda in their house, like I don't know, maybe then. But okay. So anyway, what I'm trying to say, there is no point to speak bad about it. Try to help them. Okay. So many times as they just go and guess Torah because of the ignorance, not because they want to anger God. In order to anger God, you have to believe in God. You have to start from the beginning, right? So number two, non-observant Jew who did receive a meaningful Jewish education has been taught Torah values and known that he is doing wrong, but claims that observance is too difficult, is rebel due to the temptation. He is considered part of Amecha, your people, which means the Loshon Hora may be speaking of him if it is for constructive purpose. So just 1 second. So let's read one more time and to try to understand what he's saying. If non-observant Jew who did receive the meaningful Jewish education has been taught Torah values and knows that what he is doing is wrong, but claims that observance is too difficult, is rebel due to the temptation. So there are two separate things, two separate categories, I would say. Rebel again because of temptation, meaning that he has this non-Jewish girlfriend, right? So that's temptation. It's one thing. Or another thing is because he wants to anger God. So that's as we understand much more severe category. So if he goes against HaShem clearly because he said I don't believe in him, this and that. So that's a very serious issue. So we can talk about him. We can talk about all three categories. But my always question is, what is the point? So the point is we're trying to help person. or we're trying to warn other people. So if I trying to warn other persons, so if you're going to go to this yeshiva, there is some yeshivas, they have a mixed yeshiva, boys and girls together, very modern, more modern. Right, so if you go to do this, so you can tell somebody who has young children, let's say, or children trying to put their children in yeshiva. So you say, if you're going to put your children in that kind of yeshiva, that's what it's going to be like. Most likely be your outcome, and you tell about this and this person. So it would be for constructive purpose. But otherwise, again, there is if no constructive purpose, why don't you talk Torah? Okay. So he is considered a part of your people, Amecha. Which means that Loshon Hara may be spoken to him only for a constructive purpose, as we explained. So, page 47, 1 second, there's continuation. Okay, continuation. However, he is not considered your fellow, right? And consequently, the prohibition on us dvarim, cause heard through the speaking words, will not apply in this case. So meaning you can offend him, and as we learn in the Rambam, so in such a case, so you have to offend him and even embarrass him in public in some circumstances if he's going to help. So this prohibition against hurting him with words does not apply to that kind of person. It's from Vayikra 25:17. Continue. Social pressure may be used to encourage the observance. Even if he will suffer embarrassment, in a process, provided that all conditions of the constructive speech are met. So meaning, try to warn him this and that. So he did not, he did not comply. So we are allowed to embarrass him. Again, if we know that again we're doing for his own sake, and plus to stop others, to warn others not to go, to deter others from going the same direction. Non-constructive speech that is either derogatory or harmful would be constituted Loshon Hara. So just to humiliate for him, no reason, right? So it's going to be Loshon Hara. Continue. Number 3. So three type of non-observant person. So one is who does not know better. Second is because of the physical temptations, and the third one, the classic Epicurus, heretic, who is acknowledgeable but rebels, is considered neither your brother nor part of your people. If there exists such a person today, one may speak about him without precautions. I'm not sure why he said that. There's many people like that. Right? Many people who goes against Rabbi, who goes against Torah openly, and they consider themselves Jews. Knowledgeable, who is knowledgeable, rebels is considered neither your brother nor part of your people. Okay, no problem. So that's 3 categories of Jews that are not observant. Of course, we have to treat each category according to the Halachah. Okay. Any questions on what we said before we continue? Okay, so no problem. So we continue chapter number 5. Maybe we're even going to finish this chapter, very long chapter, Baruch HaShem. And our topic, precautionary prohibitions. Again, precautionary prohibitions in eating meat and milk, right? One after another. Okay, and it says, okay, no problem. The prohibition of daily bread. So we spoke before, somebody asked the question, I don't remember what was the question about, but we said that don't do daily breads or do like a tiny small things, so you would eat like one meal and that's it. But let's see what he says. Chazal decree that one may not add milk to the dough of any bread, regardless of whether or not one plans to eat with bread with daily. Okay. So very very straightforward. So one more time, Chazal decreed that one may not add milk to the dough of any bread, regardless of whether or not one plans to eat the bread with daily. So meaning even if he's going to eat this bread with a salad, with vegetables, so it does not make any difference. Not allowed. Bread the bread is mainstay of all meals, and we are concerned that it might be inadvertently be eaten with a meat meal. So as we said, leftovers, he has the leftovers. So he had the breakfast, let's say he ate the sandwich with cheese, okay, bread with cheese, and then he decided to eat it with meat, leftover bread. That's a problem, because it was daily bread. Consequently, one may not need bread with with meat gravy, lest it be eaten with daily. So same, I'm not sure why would somebody do that. I mean, there are some dishes but they would not call it bread. Like they would have some meat in there or gravy in there. So, but it would not be considered bread. Okay. Okay, so we don't make meat bread, and we don't make daily bread. Similarly, one should not add milk to any food or drink that may be eaten with meat or in the course of the meat meal. So all of this, so we have to be very careful. So if something like a person considered to be neutral, or even I would say maybe cookies, right? You have a homemade cookies with daily. That's a problem. That's a problem. Okay, so you might get to eat cookie after your meat meal. Commentaries say, unless it is small amount that will be consumed in the same day. Okay, foods that will be eaten only after the meat during the 6 hours follow the meat meal are no concern. One more time. So one, as we said before, unless they have small make a small amount. For example, for the breakfast for the whole family. That's it. So they ate small bread, small whatever cookies or pastries, daily pastries. They finish, no problem. So that's what you can do. So leave over, that's an issue. And second sentence says foods that will be eaten only after meat, but during the 6 hours following the meat meal of no concern. I'm not sure what would be example of such a thing, but meaning that usually these foods, I don't have any good example like no practical example that usually people don't eat after the meat, but only during the 6 hours, maybe more than 6 hours, there is no problem. Okay, so continue. Chazal ruled that a bread baked with milk or gravy may not be eaten even on its own, since one may forget and eat the bread with meat. So that's, of course, it's rabbinical decrees, as we discussed, and somebody asked a question about teshuvah. Right? We had a class today earlier, and somebody asked about teshuvah, and we said that a third step of teshuvah is when you decide that you're never going to do it again, and decision of never going to do it again. So like I said, no, but how can I decide? How can you promise this and that? No, you can promise. Yes, how? That you build yourself all of these fences not to come close to Avera. So look what rabbis told us, and plus you can add your own, like your personal fences. So that's exactly it says here. So they say, even if you made this bread, don't. So the rabbis say it's forbidden to be eaten. Period. So this daily bread, so if it's a bigger loaf, forbidden to be eaten, or this meat bread which was mixed with meat gravy, so forbidden. Why? Because we're afraid that he's going to eat with the opposite, right? With the dairy or with the meat. Whenever this concern is not warranted, the prohibition does not apply. Okay, so Of course, so if for example people don't eat meat, or for example that's I think that's my personal thought, maybe in this week, right? In this week, since we started 9 days, right? So since you're not allowed to eat bread or not allowed to eat meat, so the daily bread would be no problem. So even if you did not finish your meal in the morning, let's say like Friday morning, not a good example. Okay, let's say Thursday. Thursday is better example, right? So you had breakfast with this daily bread. Okay, no problem. So of course you did not finish big loaf. So you can eat it on Thursday afternoon. There is no problem. And Friday morning again. So hopefully you're going to finish this bread in 3 days, in 3 meals, 3-4 meals, whatever is it, right? So then there is no problem. So there is no suspicion that a person is going to eat meat, right? Because the person knows that not to have meat. So we remove we froze all of the leftover meat, whatever chicken or meat, whatever we had, and that's it. So there's no meat in the refrigerator. So even if you open your refrigerator and if you want to eat chicken or something, it's not there. So it's very simple. Okay, so in this case it would be exception, like a practical exception. Okay, so one more time. Whenever this concern is not warranted, meaning that he would eat daily bread with meat meal, right, or opposite the meat bread with a daily meal, the prohibition does not apply. For example, number one, small amounts of bread. One may bake a small amount of daily bread. A small amount in double quotes, is defined as amount eaten in one day. So maybe in 2 meals, okay, there is no problem. One may bake even a large amount of daily bread for many people if the bread will normally be eaten on that same day. For example, one has a large family or has invited many guests for the meal. So you have a meal in your house for circumcision, right? Or Siyum Masechet, right? So you finish some like part of the part of the Torah. You make it Siyum, you make it celebration, and that's how you, right? And you have this big celebration, and you wanna do the daily breakfast, right, for everybody. So then there is no problem. You can do a daily breakfast, right? And you can bake a large amount of bread, so because many people are going to come and eat, there is no problem. Okay, so it does not have to be a small amount. If people are going to consume, so it could be a big amount. Okay, number two, bread baked in a special form. One may bake bread. One may bake even large amount of daily bread if he shapes it in an unusual manner. The rectangular form of bread will serve as a reminder that the bread is daily. Right? It's from Aruch. No, one second. It's not for Aruch HaShulchan. It's okay. So Chachmas Adam says that he can do like some kind of small mark. I'm not sure was it small mark, and what if he's going to pass this mark while eating the bread? I'm not sure. I don't want to suggest that. I don't see how it's practically work. Okay, so we're going to forget this suggestion because I think it's dangerous unless it's like something very, very special, maybe different color. If they add food coloring or something, like it would be blue bread or something, or a red bread, pink bread, so it would be like a reminder. But otherwise, I'm not sure what kind of mark they're talking about. I'm not sure. Okay, but let's say, or different forms, if all of your breads are round, so now you bake the rectangular, so of course there is there is no problem. Okay, so peculiar form of the bread will serve as a reminder the bread is daily. Note, the exemption pertaining only if one were in effect at the time of baking. This exemption pertain only if they were in effect in the time of baking, Any changes done to the bread after baking do not change halakhic status. For example, so you cannot like cut bread and make it rectangular, right? So that's a different story. For example, one bakes a large amount of dairy bread to be eaten over the longer period of time, and upon realizing that the bread is prohibited, divides among several families, giving each family 1 day supply. The bread remains prohibited. So it's very, very interesting example, and it's one of these cases when halacha depends on our initial thought process, right? Intention, kavana, call it kavana. Right? So if a person was planning to make a lot of bread, right, to bake, and then he realized before he started baking, right, and they decided to split between families, and let's say even 3 families, right? It's have many members of the family, there is no problem. Even though you planned a lot, so they would eat in 1 day, let's say, right? For you, it would be you have a smaller family, like for 3 days worth of this eating, or 5 days, whatever. But they have bigger families, so they would eat it with you, of course, with your family in 1 day. Okay, no problem. So you can do that, but if it was I mean, I apologize, it's not that you can, if you did it initially, that was your plan, I assume that would be allowed. But if initially it was only for your family, and then you started dividing between other family, that's not allowed. That's what he says. Continue. One bakes dairy bread without distinguishing mark, but makes it afterwards it is baked. The bread remains prohibited. So these distinguishing marks are, as we said, like shape of the bread. I was, as I said, I mean, it's not, does not say here, but it's my personal like idea, like to add food coloring, okay, to make it different, like blue bread or something, right? There is food colorings for anything. So right, that's what my wife does. So sometimes just, I don't know, for whatever reason. So she likes it like pinky muffins for whatever reason. So everybody eat pinky muffins. Okay, no problem. So it's very, very different. So if you have a pinky bread, let's say, or yellow bread, or blue bread, so you would it's a very good sign for you to realize that something is different. Okay, if continue, if either of these cases, the prohibition. So, but the last one. But if a person add distinguishing mark after that, so it is not valid. So you're not allowed to eat this bread. Continue. So again, bread is kosher. All ingredients are kosher. Challah was removed. Everything is good. But it's the fences that our rabbis put for us not to break the Torah law. That's the bottom line. In either of these cases, the prohibition that took effect at the time of baking remains in effect, right? So whatever was in a baking, that's like a muktzah, right? The muktzah is attains the status of muktzah on the beginning of Shabbos. What status was bein hashemashos, between the sunset and nightfall? So all other time is irrelevant. But before this time or after the time, that's irrelevant. Okay. Conversely, one bakes a large amount of dairy bread to be eaten in 1 day. For example, he was planning a daily Sheva brachas for many guests, right? And since the Sheva brachas was cancelled, the bread remains for many days. The bread remains permitted. So that's I think that's amazing example, right? So whatever you decided initially was absolutely kosher. You were expecting many guests, and they were invited. And then something cancelled. I don't know. The groom got sick. So Sheva Bracha is 7 day of celebration of groom and the bride, right after the marriage. Okay, so he got sick. He's okay. So of course there is no celebration. Okay, so everything got cancelled. So since you baked the bread in permissible manner, so you're allowed to use it. So again, Kavana, initial thought process. Continue. After baking, one coats the bread crust with dairy ingredient or uses the bread to make grilled cheese sandwich, the bread remains permitted. So here we're talking about it was part of bread, the way I understand. I mean, from his example, right? Then after baking, one coats the bread with the dairy ingredients. So the bread was baked in a permissible manner. After that, let's say I assume, based on this example, that it was like the whole loaf was coated with dairy ingredients, or uses the bread to make grilled cheese sandwiches. The bread remains permitted. So because it was after the fact, there is no problem whatsoever. Because if bread is part of, you can use it with dairy meals or with meat meal. There is no problem. In either of these cases, the bread was baked in a permissible manner and remains permitted. So that's the main point, that since we did everything initially permissible, then we change our mind or change approach how we want to use the bread. Does not change the status. Bread is permissible. Needless to say, if both these cases, the bread should be stored in a manner ensuring that no one will mistakenly use for the bread for the meat meal. So let's read the commentary and we're going to explain. The reason this is permitted is because the prohibition of Chazal takes effect only during the baking process. And our sages tell us, right? So Torah is strict enough. Chazal already thought of this, of all of the precautions. So if for example, person is weak and he or she is going to know that for sure I'm going to fail, so yes, you're allowed to add some extra stringencies upon yourself, but usually they're not necessary. If you follow whatever Chazal say, usually the stringency are not necessary. Okay. Right, so meaning that all of the stringency were only in time of baking. Okay. And the last thing that we say about storage. So since you were allowed to bake the bread, it was part of, and then you convert it to daily, or in all others, right? Or all other scenarios that we just listed. For example, the Shabbat brachas was cancelled, so you're not going to throw out the bread. I mean, if you can eat it, use it, or I don't know, to do something, there is no problem. But store it separately. So you always have to have like separate shelves. For example, in a cabinet, and they sell these stickers. It's in Judaica. If you want to buy it, it says daily part of meat, right? Like stickers that you put on the shelves, on a door or kitchen cabinet. So for sure, you're not going to, even in the different languages. In English, in Spanish, for sure, right? So you put these stickers, right? And you would know not to touch. This cabinet is only for daily, right? Only for daily. So that's or if this shelf is only for daily. So make sure that you store this bread only on that shelf, in order not to make mistakes. Okay. Any questions on what we said? Okay, no problem. So then we continue. Part number 3. So we started. How is it part number 3? Oh, no. I apologize. Okay. So the part number 1 was small amounts of bread. The part number 2 was a bread baked in special form. And part number 3, I apologize for confusion, a bread not usually eaten in the course of the meal. One may add milk to those bread that usually not eaten during the meal. For example, one may bake muffins with milk, since muffins are not usually served as a dessert with tea, not the course of the meal itself. I'm not sure how it makes sense, but let's see commentary. So they say Chachmas Adam 53. Chazal were not concerned that one may inadvertently eat them within the 6 hours of eating meat, only that they may be eaten with the meat itself. So that's in some sense it is a leniency, right? So we cannot protect person from everything in this world. So right, so a person might have in his house or her house daily cookies, right? The daily things, or cheese, right? So just because there is a cheese, that like just because they ate meat does not mean that they have to throw out all of the daily, right? So, and if person inadvertently would eat daily, okay, well, what can you do? That's not proper. So that's why our sages in their great wisdom, they said, okay, no problem. So muffins, for example, muffins they usually are not eaten during the meal, right? It's some kind of dessert. Okay, no problem. So you're allowed to make them daily. But I would say you would need a separate oven to make them daily. And most of the muffins that they sell in the store, they make it daily, but we make part of muffins. And I don't know what they do with these muffins, but I think they're even better than what you buy in the store. Okay, there are different recipes. They need not to be daily. But if you search for the recipe, of course, most of them would be daily. Okay. So, and the problem is with the recipe. So my wife looks at a recipe online. The problem is, so you say, just look at from a kosher women on the internet. So they're not kosher. If they're on the internet, they're not kosher, period. Even if she's dressed modestly, as she thinks. You understand? So women should not teach, should not be in a video. That's the thing. So that's why we don't watch videos from Jews of cooking. I mean, not from Jews, from a man. There is a problem from a woman. Okay. Continue. So muffins, we say there is no problem. Okay. Summary and the practical applications. Okay. One may not add milk or meat gravy to the dough of any bread, even if one plans to eat the bread without meat or dairy. Okay. So first rule, as we said, do not make this meat bread or dairy bread. Why? Because you might mistaken it, and you might make a mistake and get to eat it with opposite. Okay. So continue. One may bake a small amount of dairy bread. There is amount that is eaten in one day, or even large amount of dairy bread. If he shapes it in an unusual manner and makes it obvious that it's daily bread. So okay. One of the exceptions. So as we said that bake small amount of bread that is going to be finished in this meal, so and for sure nothing is going to be left over for the next meal, right? Or if it's going to be shaped differently, as I say, color different, something, right? Some very unusual shape. I mean, for you, right? So if some people do like rectangular bread, so do round, like some unusual for you. Okay. So continue, next one. If one bakes a large amount of dairy bread with milk in a usual shape, it may not be eaten, even of its own, since one might forget and eat. Okay, I apologize, misread one word, one more time. If one baked a large amount of dairy bread with milk in usual shape, it may not be eaten, even on its own. So they made the bread, like dairy bread, and I want to put butter on a drink with my coffee with milk. What is the problem? Forbidden, right? Because why? Person is not allowed to put himself or herself in a dangerous situation. Simple as it is, right? So when we forbid the whole bread, and a person would have to get rid of the bread, so next time he or she would think like, yeah, it was a not very smart idea to bake this bread. Okay, so now I remember, from now on I'm going to make only part of bread. Okay, continue. One may bake a daily challah on Yom Tov to be eaten during the daily meal, first day of Shavuos. Okay, so on Shavuos we have a custom So in Halachah, it's a custom to eat daily. There is a very beautiful explanation why we eat daily. So, what we do, we just make a pot of bread and you eat with everything. But some people, they want to beautify the Yom Tov, and right, for them it's beautification. So they want to make a daily challah. Okay, there is no problem. They do daily challah, eat with cheese, with all of the other beautiful things. So no problem. But second breads are going to be like pot of bread. Second breads, I apologize. On Shavuos, since there is a custom to eat daily, right? But it's a custom. But Halachah is that you have to eat meat, right? Especially on Yom Tov, because why? Because meat and wine gladdens a man's heart. Women's not so much gladdened with meat, but men for sure does. Okay, so that's why in Shavuos we have 2 meals. One meal is for daily. Then we stop, we do some kind of break, and then we do meat milk. Usually it's like after that, like half an hour later, like even 15 minutes later, right? So meaning that you have you need like separate challahs in order this whatever you eat it to be called meal. So you need separate challahs. Okay, preferably 2 challahs. Okay, no problem. Okay, that's what he's saying. So you're allowed to make challah, daily challah, if you're going to eat it like for the mitzvah purposes. But I would say don't do it. Like my personal experience, don't do it. Just make pot of bread, and you're going to be eat with daily and with meat, same loaves. Of course, there is a problem. So you. Still, there's a problem, as we say, if you have small children and they're going to touch with their solid hands the bread, the loaf. For sure, it's you cannot serve this bread during the meat meal, for sure. Right? There's a residue, but if you're careful, if you just slice whatever slices need to be done, and you remove the rest of the bread that was on a part of bread board, so there is no problem. You can use it for the next meal. There is no problem. Okay. So continue. One may bake challah with meat and gravy on Erev Shabbos if it is the amount that will normally consume during the meat meal on Shabbos. So on Shabbos, usually people don't eat daily, but as I think we discussed it last time, some people eat for Seudah Shlishi. I guess in the summer there is no problem, right? So it's simple. It could be 6-hour breaks from one meal to another. There is no problem. Okay. But usually people like most of the time, like in majority of cases, people eat only meat or paref on Shabbos, so there is no problem. So if they baked enough, only enough to be eaten only on Shabbos only and finish before the Shabbos ends, there is no problem. Okay, you can make this meat, like meat challahs, meaning with gravy or something. Continue. One may bake pastries and danishes with milk, since these are generally eaten after or not during the meal. So again, so our sages like they limit, but there is expression up to here. So they cannot make our life very difficult, right? So you can bake yourself these danishes, and you can go buy in a store to buy this daily danishes. So what is the difference, right? So it does not mean that they cannot forbid you to have this daily pastries or danishes in your house. That's not how it works. So, but since danishes and daily like pastries are not usually not eaten during the meal, right? So there is no problem. Continue. Next one may bake cheesecake or cheese danishes, since in addition to the factor mentioned above, they're visibly daily and will not be eaten with the meat. So that's Aruch HaShulchan, right? Like cheesecake for sure, or cheese danishes. Cheese danishes meaning you have a danish, and inside you have cheese that is on top. Like you cannot make any mistake, right? So all of these things are allowed. There is no problem. Nobody is going to make any mistake. Okay. So continue. One may bake meat pies that obviously contain meat. For example, a daily roll. I'm not sure what a daily roll is. I don't know. But meat pies. Okay, so everybody knows what meat pie is. Okay, there is no problem. So you see the pieces of meat, other vegetables. So like for sure you know that you like the thing is very very heavy. So you're not going to eat it with daily. Okay, next one. One may not bake pastries with the meat dough if the meat if the meat or gravy is not clearly visible, since they may be inadvertently be served as a dessert with coffee with milk. I'm not sure why somebody would do that, but let's read it one more time, try to understand. I'm not sure how is it possible. So one more time, one may not bake pastries with the meat dough. So meaning that the dough was mixed with a gravy. For sure, it's not like with a gravy. If meat meat dough, if the meat or a gravy is not clearly visible. I'm not sure pastries and meat visible. I'm not sure. Okay, pastries in my mind is something sweet. So if it's sweet, why would you have meat sticking out of your pastries? I'm not sure. Since they inadvertently be served, inadvertently may inadvertently be served with a coffee with milk. Okay, so these desserts, so don't make them with meat. Okay, next one. A dairy bread that was baked in a prohibited manner. There's a large loaf without unique shape, may not be subsequently be divided among several households, since it was baked in prohibited manner. So large bread, so they forgot that the milk, since it was again at the time of the baking, it was baked in forbidden manner. So now you cannot divide. Divide meaning like even after the fact. So you have big loaf, for example, and you divide for like in 3 parts and give 2 other parts to other 2 families. So it would not be allowed because since the beginning it was forbidden. Continue. One who bakes a dairy bread just okay. One who bakes the dairy bread in a prohibited manner may not eat the bread even if he affixes the stickers or puts it in a wrapper that identify as a bread bread is dairy. So so one who did it in prohibited manner, as we said, so in all of the previous cases, so like there is no fix. Basically, that's it. So you cannot make it daily. They're not wrapped in like put in a special bag, special container. That's it. That's too late. Next one. One should not bake bread while meat is being roasted in the same oven. One who bakes bread in this manner should consult Rav as to whether the bread may be eaten. Okay, so let's try to understand. I mean, usually people don't do that. Usually the way I understand things. So usually people who bake or do something in the oven, they would do everything separate. Of course, if you have no choice and you have like limited time, yes, you might do it at the same time. But you, as we learned before, this infusion of the taste from the vapors, for sure it's a problem. So if you have some meat dish, for sure the vapors are going to go into your vegetable dish, right? So that's these vegetables are going to be considered meat. There's a problem. So now we're talking about the way I understand, so to put it into perspective, that the meat dish, whatever it is, it was open. So for sure that it's if it would be covered, there is some like lids, like tight lids. That's a different story. But if it's not, or it was covered with double wrapping over aluminum foil. Let's say that would be a different story. But here's the story when they bake the bread, like with open meat, right, container. That's a problem, right? So one who bakes bread in this manner should consult Rav. So Rav is going to ask, of course we know what he's going to ask, was it meat covered or not covered? Right, and so after the fact, so that depends on all of these questions. So many times, like after the fact, we would allow a person to eat, right? But if he had the other bread, so maybe it's better, like as a punishment, like and precaution for the next time, say not to eat. So it depends on the person. This there are some cases in which we just look at the person and decide based on his financial abilities, right? If he can survive without this thing. Okay. So continue. One who warms the Shabbos challah by putting them on in the oven or a blech shortly before Shabbos should avoid putting them in a spot where they come into contact with meat gravy. If challah come into contact with the meat gravy, they should be marked as a meat challah. Very interesting. So let's read it from the beginning, and it's actually very often asked questions. So from the beginning, one who warms the Shabbos challah by putting them in an oven or in a blech shortly before Shabbos. So technically, you're allowed to warm challah, or some use like pita bread or whatever they use for Shabbos. So it's preferably to put it on a blech. No, not preferably. You have to, if you want to eat warm up them during Shabbos. So it's proper to put it on a blech before Shabbos. So like when you light the candles, after that you can remove them. And on Shabbos, like on Shabbos day, so right, you're actually allowed to put it back and warm up. So everybody likes warm bread. Okay, so in enhancement of Shabbos, it's like you're allowed to warm up other foods, right? So dry foods, at least for Ashkenazim. So you can you're allowed to warm up challah as well. Of course, it's not going to be hot. It's going to be a little warmer, right? Nobody eat this hot bread, right? Just a little warmer than usual. So one more time, the whole sentence. One who warms the Shabbos challah by putting them in the oven or in a blech shortly before Shabbos. So an oven is a problem, okay, but on a blech before Shabbos, should avoid putting them in a spot where they come into contact with the meat or gravy. So meaning if you have on this blech, on this platter or something, right, if you have open container, let's say with meat, so don't put this challah on top of the meat, of course, right, so put it on something else. So, but if you do, you have to mark the halachos as meat, right? But they're permitted since they were baked in a permissible manner. Okay, so let me see the time. Do we have any questions on what we said? Any questions? Yes, go ahead.
So I was checking if the book kind of covered what I'm about to ask, but I think it didn't. So if we eat dairy bread and subsequently we want to eat meat, what should we do? Should we treat it as regular dairy, or
yes, That's it. Regular dairy, because when you say dairy bread, what does it mean? The dairy bread means that it was mixed with milk. So instead of water, they added milk, or like half and half. I'm not sure. We don't do that, so I would not know the proportions. But technically, you can do, instead of water, you can do the milk, and I think it would be very tasty bread. Right. So that's why it's not allowed. It's not allowed to buy bread. So that's just like a side note. From the store, if it does not say that it is kosher, or unless, so if you know it's the cheapest bread possible, it would be like, for example, you got stuck in somewhere when you went to supermarket and it's in the middle of I don't know, Arizona. That's not a good example. I don't know, in the middle of somewhere, right? And there is no kosher bread, right? There are no kosher signs on the bread. right? So you would not be allowed to buy like a good quality bread, right? Why? Because it could be dairy. So unless it says maybe it's there is no dairy, this and that, so maybe it would be like less problem. But the cheapest bread, they do flour and water and salt. That's it. Maybe some preservatives, some yeast, but all of the ingredients are kosher. There is less issue. Of course, that's why trying to buy bread only with what is it, with kosher stamp. But dairy bread means that it was milk in there, for sure.
Thank you, Rabbi. So, what if, for example, the dough was knead with, let's say, this type of cheeses are kind of matured, for example, like Parmesan or something like that? Does it change things?
Yes. So Parmesan, as we said last time, not last time, some classes ago. So it's a definition. It's a definition of a process. So of course it's a name of the cheese, but the definition of the process. And this process, it's like takes at least 4 to 6 months for maturity. Of course, it can take a little longer, but at least. So for us, it's hard cheese, right? Halachically, right? For us, meaning halachically. So we have to treat it as meat. So we have to eat. We have to wait 6 hours from this bread until we eat meat. But me personally, I never heard such of breads. I don't know. Maybe there are, but I never heard. I never read in any book.
Yes, thank you, Rabbi. Yeah, there are some of those breads made with that cheese here in South America.
Okay. So yeah, exactly. So that depends on the culture, but yeah, it's very interesting. So for us, it would be not allowed. Yeah, go ahead.
In chocolate bread, the same thing.
Chocolate bread? Was chocolate chip or something?
Yeah, there's a bread that have like chocolate chunks or chocolate chips within.
But you do not know. You do not know. So for example, we also bought, I think I said before, this chocolate chip, but we bought part of. Of course, the 85% of chocolate chip on the market, that's dairy, for sure. Maybe not 85. No. So I'm just trying to call it maybe 80%. 75-80% of all of the chocolate chip, they are dairy for sure, because the tastier, of course. But there are some part of, so you cannot say for sure that it's a dairy or part unless you know. So for example, if you buy this muffins with chocolate chip and it says parv, it's parv. So we do sometimes this muffins with chocolate chip, it's 100% parv. But you're right, majority of chunks, these chocolate chunks, they majority of them dairy. So you have to ask. I mean, it's not so simple. And I'm not sure if they would be required to put it on a packaging. I mean, unless they want to write there is no, there is dairy free. That would be right. If they want to write it, that's one thing. But since it's a smaller amount of dairy, I'm not sure if it's only a few chips here and there. How much, like percentage-wise, it's going to be dairy in this bread, right? So maybe they're not even obligated to write on a packaging there is a dairy. So it would be for sure dangerous to buy such a chocolate chip or chocolate chunk bread or pastries, cookies. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah, you're welcome. We can go in any topic. If anybody have questions on any topic, we can answer. One question was on the chat. If we're allowed to cook bread for non-Jews, there is no problem. I mean, if relatives especially, there is no problem to cook for them whatsoever. Okay. What else? Any other questions? No questions? Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Can I ask something? It is related to the last question I have.
Okay.
So I'm keeping a
studying this topic, and I want to know if there is any source in Kabbalah or Zohar or the like that there are people, historians that are claiming that the Aryans were going to be the original Adam and Eve. Is there any source for that?
I'm not good. I'm not that person to ask this question. I don't know. I don't learn Kabbalah. I don't learn all these things. I would not know. Sorry. If you have simpler questions, so more practical, I'll try to answer. But these questions, I would not know.
I mean, because there are many people today that are claiming to be descendants of the lost tribes of Israel, and one of the claims is that the Aryans are the lost tribes, but that is not making sense to me.
I don't think people talk. People so empty. They talk other things like we have these videos, 1 minute video, and a person makes takes everything opposite. How can you take everything opposite? So many people do opposite. Not many, but some. On a steady basis, opposite conclusions. It's 1 minute. It's not even 1 minute. It's 57 seconds. How can you get everything wrong if we spell out everything correctly? So if person reads books and make up stories, I'm not surprised. I don't know. I would not know. I don't know. Okay.
So just to end this question is because I am kind of worried because this information I found about this it was related to white supremacist groups. It's kind of these Black Hebrew Israelites, and it's this seems to be a threat, and I see nobody is doing anything about it.
I mean, we cannot get distracted with every claim that people make. You understand? We have Torah to learn. We cannot. So that's the bottom line. So what I do know, right? Some things we do know. That it's job of the Mashiach. One of the three missions of Mashiach is to bring all Jews from all over the world back to Israel. So in order to fulfill the mission, he would need to know who's a Jew, who's not Jew. So just leave it for Mashiach. He knows. He does not rely on theory. He relies on direction from HaShem. So why should we worry about it? And plus, today we go who is a Jew, who is not Jew, by 3 generations. So if you know your 3 generations before, right? So you know that you're a Jew. So I mean, we assume the most likely person is a Jew. So that's it. So can you say for sure that the 5 generations before nothing happened? No. So some people who think today that they're Jews and maybe even very learned one, maybe they're not Jews. You never know. So that's a job for Mashiach. I think that we should not worry about it too much.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Worry about daily bread and the meat bread. That's a bigger issue. Because why? That's a lesson, not lesson. It's provocation from Satan, right? So he's trying to think about the past, like we can correct something. We cannot. What about future? What about the future? What is going to happen? Also, we cannot predict the future. Even if we can predict, okay, so what are you going to do about it? Right? What exactly are you going to do about it? But in the meantime, the most important mitzvah, as we said yesterday and some time ago, and today I said in another class, it's a mitzvah that's right in front of you. And person gets so distracted about the past, about the future, this supremacy. So he cannot, I'm not talking about you, but in general, right? In general, all of these worries, how I'm going to pay my rent, how I'm going to do this, or how I have a check medical exam with the doctors. He said you have to do MRI, this and that. A person cannot sleep, and they start fighting people in my office, this and that. So I've been working in the same company for more than 20 years plus, right? And since the year 1, they had this sometimes one time a year, sometimes twice a year, they would fire people, every year. And everybody would start worrying, The only time people did not worry, it's like after they finished firing. So next week, everybody were relaxed, in a good mood. But like after that, they were started preparing for the next firing season. It was ridiculous. So people lived all of these years, and some of them never got fired. You understand? With all of the pressure, they was trying to impress the bosses, and bosses themselves got fired. So I mean. So we have to concentrate what is in front of us and try to do the mitzvah that is pertinent to us right now in the best way possible. That's in our power, and that's what we're going to be asked. But about what happened 20 years ago, what's going to in the future, how come you did not prepare for the future? Who said it's going to be the future? The blogger? Who said so? One lady, we have one crazy cannonball, right? In our one of our channel. So she started leaving the commentary. At first I started replying, but she just left the and she runs to another video and said I said that's enough. I stopped. So she said, listen to this. It was video about halaf. So we said halaf. There is in Eastern Europe there is a word halava, right? Halava mean what? I said that the word came from the word halav in Hebrew, right? The Jews would give to non-Jews this free milk. They would milk the cow, put it by the fence. Non-Jews would come and take the milk. Okay, that's so this in a simple procedure. And somebody suggested this genius. So why don't you arrange with a non-Jew to come and milk your cow? So exactly, and unfortunately he's a Jew, ignorant Jew. So if he learned in our class, he would understand it's not allowed. But of course, I don't reply to these people. But this crazy lady, this crazy canon, so she said no. She said the cow, the Sarah, the holy Sarah, is a queen. And queen does not take anything from anybody. Listen to me. And that's why she provide milk. So Sarah, like there's a message that she was like breastfeeding other children, right, to show that it's not fake. So that this Yitzchak is actually her son, right? So and that she gives milk to everybody. So since she's a queen and a cow, and she can provide, and she does not need anything in return. I was like, you normal? Why would you say so? It's not like I'm a big expert. I know all of the midrashim around, but this sounds a little crazy. That's a little too much. So I said, thank you very much, but I said, can I find out what is the source? Maybe I want to also read. And she said it's Friedrich Freud, or whatever his name, Freud, right? This psychiatrist. From she said it's from chapter number 3. And it's like, you normal? So she gives our like I'm not sure did it say in his book, or she made like based on his theory. That's people like that. You understand? And she comments like every day. She makes the one comment worse than the previous one. And she's a Jew, unfortunately, and she knows some about Nazirus and about this and that. So about we had a video about cutting the beard. So she said, yeah, it could be a woman, could be Nazir. What is the connection? All these people. So just because somebody knows the words and can speak nicely, right, and highly educated, does not mean that we have to listen. Like people crazy. Understand? So okay. Any other questions? Go ahead. Lerner, go ahead, please.
Yes. Does a man get some sort of protection from wasting seed at night when he's sharing the same bedroom with his wife, even during the times they're not supposed to be intimate? Because I kind of heard this somewhere, but I just wanted to know.
Right, it's actually forbidden to sleep in one bed. So if in this period
bedroom, as in a bedroom.
Bedroom? No, okay, okay. Usually, usually there's no problem whatsoever, and it's actually proper. So I would say just say it is proper to sleep in one bedroom because the wife goes, the poor woman, she goes through all of the suffering. So for some women, it's a lot of suffering. The man would not survive 3.5 hours in this suffering that she goes for 3 or 4 or 5 days. So and now even he goes goes to a different room, this and that. So for her it would be too much to handle. When at least they cannot sleep in one bed, but they're in different rooms. So that helps her a lot. So it's not proper to separate. And usually if man watches his eyes, nothing is going to happen usually. But if he does not provoke, because why? Because Eitzah Hara is not strong, so she's not allowed today. But in 3 days from now, 7 days from now, they can be together. There is no problem whatsoever. So usually, it does not happen unless he was watching something before. Of course, you try to arrive at the bed different times, so not to look at each other. But that's the thing. Yeah, you of course you have to take all of the precautions necessary. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. May I ask another question? So in the Gemara Masechet Shabbat in Masechet Beezrat, it mentions that a person is not supposed to give a gift to his friend without letting him know ahead of time. He has to let him know before. And this is based on when HaShem, before he gave the Shabbat to Israel, he let them know before. And we also see that HaShem, before he gives a person, sometimes he kind of lets him know through a dream. Let's say if the person dreams about a snake and then the person gets money or something like that. I don't want to get too much into it, but why does HaShem does this? Why does he let the person know before, ahead of time, that he's going to give him a gift? Is this because he doesn't want the person to do anything stupid and ruin it or something like that?
No, to tell the truth, I was expecting that you would ask why one person have to warn another person, not one to let know. I think that's a better question. So if I want to surprise somebody, right? So why shouldn't tell him? Well, maybe I think it's a good gift for him or for her. And that's the problem. So some people buy gifts for other people, and they're expensive gifts, without consulting. So and that person does not need that, right? So another person, so specific person, my mother. So whatever we bought for her, most of the things she returned. Even she said yes, but she's a simple person. She does not need things. Okay. You understand? So so trying to be very, very careful, because sometimes it's friend here. Why would you spend money on me? Because I would not use it anyway. You understand? So if you want to give somebody a gift, make sure that somebody is in need of this gift. So maybe you say that I want to give you a gift, and the person said what, and you say I want to give you this and that. Say, look, I have 3 of those, right? So, but, since it's very nice of you, did you buy it? You say no. Okay, so what's my budget? So you say $75. Okay, so for $75, can you see if you can fit in this budget this and that? It would be beneficial. So for you, you did not even think that this person needs new shorts or t-shirts, let's say, but that person needs once always dreamed about the high quality t-shirt. I'm just making up example. You understand? So that's why you have to ask. Sometimes these gifts are the burdens. So if a person does not know, somebody give you waste, huge waste. Okay, maybe he spent a lot of money, but I have no use for it. So I have to move from one apartment to another. Have to pay people money or bringing in a car, rapid this and that. So I don't need these gifts. You understand? That's a proper to ask person about the gift. But HaShem, does he warn a person? It's actually opposite. Usually people ask whatever they need, and they demand, and whatever. And if HaShem decide to give, so he's going to give. Is it? Do they have old people get warning because of something that they're going to get? I never heard of it. maybe some people but exceptional, but it's no guarantee. So usually HaShem knows our bizarres between me and my friend. So I don't know. I think that I know what he needs, but I only guess. But that person, HaShem for sure knows what person wants, because he can read in a person's heart, and plus he knows what is good for us, right? So even maybe it's a bitter medicine, but it's good for us. So whatever is it.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay. Any other question? Yeah, good question. Go ahead. If you have another, go ahead. You can ask.
No, sorry, I just forgot to mute my mic. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody else?
Well, I actually have another one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I hope this makes sense, because I don't know. So let's say a Jewish soul is put into a non-Jewish body as a punishment, as we've talked before.
Yeah.
So if this person converts back to Judaism, is he gonna get back let's say the rest of the old soul that he used to have when he was a Jew, or he gets a completely new one?
I think exactly the same soul. It's so soul is something spiritual, and soul can be divided and can be even be reincarnated born in the same generation, right? It's two separate parts of the soul. So some parts of the soul that do not need to be corrected, they're not going to come, right? The soul is spiritual thing, so it could be the same soul, it could be different soul. Right, but looks like that the previous soul, if previous soul did not complete the tikkun, so for that person, for the person who went through Shiur, get this soul that actually failed last time. So what is the point? It would be reset. So we don't need that soul. You understand? Something different, something better, something more deserving. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yes, good question. Thank you. Any other questions? So if no questions, so let me tell you a story so that I'm working on preparing. So this story happened in 1900s, and it happened in Vienna, in Europe, right? And there's the most famous opera house was in Vienna, top of the line from the beginning of the time. I don't know, from when they started this, from 16th century, 15th, I don't know, whatever they started, it was the top theater, right, opera. And they find out somehow there's a Jewish girl, young girl, 15, 16 years old, 17, right, with beautiful voice. How did they find out? Of course, she was singing in her house, but in the summer or something, all of the windows are open and people heard, and they knew, and the rumors spread out, and these people from opera found out, and they came. The agent came, met her on the street, and said, introduced himself, and said, I have a job for you, so we can give you free lessons, and you can be the famous singer in the world, the most famous singer, right? You can work for us. She was, of course, a young girl, was excited. Of course, he took her to the opera to give free tickets. So she was amazed. The Jewish religious girl, never saw anything like it, right? And she said, yes, I agree. And then she came and told parents, and parents say, if you don't so much agree, then they took her to a rabbi. Rabbi said, Rabbi tried to talk her out, but she did not listen. She set her mind, that's what I want to dedicate my life for. So let me get the name. This rabbi said that there is a rabbi, visiting rabbi, I have to write it down, Kapitashiner Rebbe. So it was holy man, Hasidic Rebbe. And this rabbi told father, take this girl to to this Rebbe. And that's what father did. They explained the story. The girl is there. She's crying. The parents are very upset. And Rebbe look at her and said, "My daughter, please tell me why do you want to go into this profession? You know that it's not allowed for a Jewish lady to sing in front of the men, in front of the women, in front of the non-Jews. Why would you want to do that?" And she was honest girl. She said honestly, "I want to be famous. I want everybody to I want to be famous all over the world. That's what they promised me, and I know that I know my strengths. I know HaShem gave me my talent, and I don't want this talent go to waste." She was very honest. So this holy Rebbe, so he closed his eyes and thought for a few seconds, and say, "My daughter, listen. Every Jewish woman, right, observant Jewish woman, she has one dream, to have a son who is going to luminary in the Torah. One dream. All of the women from the Sarah Imenu until now, right? So he said, how about if I'm going to promise you right now that you're going to have such a son? Would you quit, right? And quit this dream and marry a Jewish guy, and right?" And she was sobbing, and after a few seconds, she thought, and she said, "I would quit if you promise." And he promised. And it was another rabbi who found out the whole story, like third rabbi, and he started following this girl. I mean, after following in normal way, right? After some time, so he found out that she got married and she had a son. And who was the son? Shmuel Wosner Zatzal. And when after so many years they came, of course, I mean the story was not like it was family story between her and the parents. So of course they did not tell the son, right? So he did not know. So when this rabbi came to Rav Shmuel Wosner Zatzal, he said, "Did you know the story about my mother?" And this Rav Shmuel Wosner Zatzal got so excited and said, now I understand why my mother, when I was little, said she would ask me to learn Torah, and she said, "You can please learn, Shmulik, please learn. You you cannot even imagine what I sacrificed for your learning." And of course, it's he became Shevet Halevi. We read commentary of Shevet Halevi till this day. Very important commentary of Shmuel Wosner. That's how he passed maybe 10 years ago or 7 years, and not very long ago. So he was 102 years old, the holiest rabbi. He was a Gadol Hador in the previous generation. I mean, in our generation. Not too long ago, and that's how this woman, this holy woman, she sacrificed her career, right, in order to have holy children, and that's it's actually paid out, right? If she would be in this opera, right, maybe they would remember her for a few years, and that's it. But she sacrificed. She became she stayed a Jew despite of all of this. Things that society has to offer, and that's the reward that she got, and that's the story. Okay, so thank you very much for learning with us. It was a very successful week. Baruch Hashem, we learned a lot, and I wish everybody good Shabbos. And next week we're going to learn even more. Beezrat Hashem. Thank you very much, and good night. Goodbye.